Welcome to another episode of Beyond Physical, where we talk about the mental, emotional, social, and at times spiritual benefits of exercise. We believe that exercise is more than movement, and this podcast is our attempt at sharing that message with the world by sharing our own as well as our guests' experiences and knowledge. If you enjoy it, we ask that you please spread the message by leaving a rating and review, or even better, by sharing with a friend. Jade, welcome. Welcome to the pod.
Pleasure to be here.
Welcome to Beyond Physical.
What
I
a
think
privilege.
it's so cool that you came out here. The first time we chatted, I was immediately like, I'd love to have you on the pod. I floated the idea by you, and it's the thing is falling, bro.
I was like, wait, how do I react in this moment?
It's just so nice to be here.
Yeah, it's like-
Thanks for
It's really a pleasure to be here right now. That's kind of funny, bro. You got to keep that in. That's great value. We get like 17 views on YouTube, so maybe that'll boost us. Not that it matters. But yeah, I think you've got a really interesting background and are putting in a lot of work with the running community in Cape Town, specifically southern suburbs, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing what's happened with your run club with Slow and Steady. But just for people who don't know, who haven't heard of it before, because I hadn't before I'd met you, I
Yeah.
don't think, and I think I heard about it actually through Demi. But what is Slow and Steady about? Who's it for? And where did the whole concept come from?
Okay, yeah. So Slow and Steady started, I guess, as movement. And yes, I mean, we call it Slow and Steady Running Club, but I don't think it functions as a normal club does. And when it started, it was basically myself and one of my best friends, Jaden. We were very active, or quite active, but he's extremely fit, whereas I don't see myself as that fit.
Is he the hockey player?
Yes. So he's quick, I'm not that quick. And I joined a few runs, like a few clubs with him. And most of the time I'd get left behind or I'd fall behind. I'd get lost on the route because there'd be nobody there. And let's say they say, all pace is welcome, or join this group if you're going at this pace. I'll be like, okay, cool, confident I can hold this pace. And then I'd look at my watch and be like, wait, this is way faster than, what we agreed on. And yeah, it just left me feeling like, yes, I do want to run, I do want to, stay fit, stay consistent, but I don't think the spaces that were available there in terms of the run clubs that at least I had gone to at that point were suited for me or fitting me in terms of pace-wise, literally. So I had a chat with him after one of the runs that we had joined, and I said, we keep on driving all the way to town to join these clubs firstly, and both of us live in Western, in the southern suburbs. So why don't we try and start something closer to home with our friends, with family, and see if that maybe allows us to stay consistent while not feeling as intimidated by maybe runners that look, way stronger and way fitter than us. And then, yeah, I guess it just started from there. He obviously jumped on immediately. And the next day we had a run with two of our friends, and I guess that's just how it went on for about a year, where we'd message a friend, phone a friend, somebody would see us somewhere and be like, what's this, what you guys doing? And that just continued. We got to a point somewhere along the line where it felt like, wait, should we still be doing this whole club thing? Because it really was just like either me on a run, or me and him, or me, him, and one of our other friends, or two of our other friends. So we're like, we could just leave the whole club thing and maybe just, run whenever we wanted. But I think having that whole club dynamic or club aspect also gives that sense of accountability where you're like, we've posted this run in the group, we can't just not show up. And I think that was like the main thing for me is, how do I find a way, or we find a way to consistently show up? Because I feel like that's the main thing with anything fitness related, is that you want to be able to show up, because that's, I guess, the only way you end up getting better or seeing the improvements. And then after that first year, we sort of, went to Instagram, went to the socials, and I guess that's when things just blew up in a way that we didn't even foresee. to the point where it is now.
So, were you putting stuff online about it and sort of marketing the club from the beginning?
Um, yes and no, because I had always like posted the words slow and steady on my story whenever I used to run. Like I started running back in lockdown, and even then I used to just say slow and steady on my story. And then obviously when we had to come up with this, like with a name for the running group, at the end of 2023, we were like, okay, slow and steady, just naturally. So over time, when people started seeing it a lot, they were like, okay, what is slow and steady? And then, we'd explain it and things. But there was never Instagram page. There was never us like posting it on Instagram and saying, guys, come and join us run or on our WhatsApp or anything like that. It was literally just a case of like, we'd meet a friend somewhere, see somebody somewhere, somebody would see one of us and be like, okay, how do I join? What are you guys doing? How does this whole thing work? And then literally, like I said, only after the first year, we were like, okay, we're at a space now where everyone feels comfortable and feels connected. So let's open up the space to everybody. Not that it wasn't open up to everybody, anybody could join, but just in terms of like marketing it, like you said, like having it on Instagram and other socials and things like that.
And so it obviously came from a thing of your wanting to create a space where it literally was all paces welcome.
Yeah.
It wasn't like just
Yes.
being said for
Yes,
for the
yes,
sake
yes,
of it. It
yes,
was like
yeah.
this is actually an inclusive run club around
Yes.
what your capabilities are.
Exactly. And I think that came from, I guess, a side of me because when I was running in lockdown, I always obviously used to run alone because, I mean, you couldn't really see that many people. So at that point in 2020, I was like purely pace focused. Like every run, somewhere between 5 to 10 kilometers, I'd run every day. And I would just look at my watch, at my phone to see, okay, how much faster did I get? How much harder did I push? All those kind of things. So then when I took that 2 year break and came back, when I realized, wait, I can't run as quickly as I used to, or I can't run for as long as I used to, does that mean I shouldn't be running? Does that mean this isn't for me? And then it was that whole idea, like I said, of slow and steady. And then I realized, wait, that makes me feel like this is a space that I need to be in or fit into. So obviously, if we sort of push that narrative of slow and steady being a space for all, more and more people that might be in that space like I was, of like, I'm not that quick, is running for me. They'd feel like, okay, at least I can join this group and see if running is for me, kind of a thing.
And you said it was about a year until you started sort of putting things out
Yeah.
there and creating an Instagram page,
Yeah.
right? So at that stage, was it still relatively small? Like the attendance was still like you and a couple of friends?
So it expanded to a bit more than just being like myself, Jaden, and a couple of friends, but it was still small. So just to put it into perspective, we started in November 2023, and then we started the Instagram at the end of November 2024. So that between October and November of that 2024 year, I think that's the first time that we started getting more than 15 people. Like prior to that, if we got 7 people at the run, myself and Jaden and the other guys would be like, okay, we did really good today. Like we got 8 people. The first time we got 10 people at the run, we were like, this is insane. How do we manage this? Because before it would be like 3 or 4. So again, if you show up late, it doesn't really matter at all. It's also you can sort of manage the route, but now it's 10 people, so it starts to get a bit trickier. But yeah, it really was still manageable. Then just before we started the Instagram, we had a collab run with Vida, and that had about 50 people, I want to say, just below 50. And then we realized, whoa, what's going on here, sort of a thing. Because I remember the reason I know we didn't have Instagram at that point is because I know I still posted the whole like marketing thing for that on my own page. And we were able to draw a big enough crowd, so we were like, okay, when we do move over properly to having an Instagram, we need to make sure that we're able to manage it, because again, in the WhatsApp group you sort of know how many people are going to show up, but on Instagram you don't know who it's reaching. So I guess from that point we had to make sure we had enough sort of hands involved to make it work out.
And after the Vida event,
Yeah.
was the bar just raised from there forth? Like, was it like
you were seeing a bunch more people. Like,
Yeah.
let's say if your average was like 7 people a run
Yes.
pre-Vida collab,
Yes.
post-Vida collab, did it immediately go to like 15 plus every run?
Basically, yeah, but I think also it ties into the fact that it was then summer, because during winter, most people are not going to want to get up and run. That's just natural. I'm the same, or I was the same at least. But yeah, literally that whole December, Jan period, if we got less than 20 people, it would feel weird because, yeah, after that video run, literally things just shot up. More people were sending things around, more people were showing up, and more people, I guess, were consistent. And I think people sort of originally come because they're like, okay, let's go for a run. You know, this is a run club that's sort of close to me. But then they stay for the whole sort of community aspect, or, you know, making friends with someone on the run and realizing, wow, this person's like actually nice. I want to continue talking to them. This could be a friend kind of a thing. Because I mean, I've seen it in that period, and I guess it sort of continued into now, where again people will show up because they're like, okay, here's a training run, like now with Cape Town Marathon, but then they come back again to our shorter runs as well because they're like, oh, I actually really like these people. They make me feel welcome, kind of a thing.
And talk to me about Cape Town Marathon. How did you kind of introduce that into the group runs?
Yeah.
And what effect have you seen that have structure really
Yeah.
from a running perspective on the community that you guys have built?
Yeah, so I mean, last year, myself, Jaden, and Khalid is also one of our best friends and also one of the first guys to join the club. We had done Cape Town Marathon because one of our other friends, Mutalib, he had done it the year before. So he sort of like got us to want to do it. We did it, but because of there was so little of us doing it last year, we weren't that committed to training, because, you know, you'd sort of do your long runs on your own or maybe with one other person. And as a result, if you see any video from me from Cape Town Marathon last year, you would know it was tough. I barely crossed the line, just. So we sort of wanted to incorporate it properly into this year's schedule, just to make sure that not only do I cross the line feeling confident, you know, feeling good, but whoever else is willing to take on the challenge, that they also sort of feel that confidence of like, okay, I don't need to go to maybe the more intimidating groups to get my training done. I can get it done here. In terms of the way the group dynamic has shifted, I guess pre-Cape Town Marathon, the most anybody had ever done in the group was a half, and that was very few people. So having to incorporate it initially was tough because, I mean, our Saturday runs that used to be a max of 10 kilometers was now a minimum of 20. So obviously now people that got used to having that Saturday morning run had to decide for themselves, am I willing to do that long run just for the community aspect? Like let's say the ones that's not training for the marathon, or am I actually just going to sign up for the marathon and go along this whole journey? And I think initially, we were about like 15, 20 people that were like seriously, okay, we're doing this marathon. But I think as the ball kept on rolling for those months and months of training, more and more people started joining to the point now where there's more than 50 of us doing Cape Town Marathon, have entries ready to take on next week. And I think, you know, that's been cool for me to see because literally there's some people in that group of 50 that at the start of the year was nervous to do a 5 kilometer without stopping. Whereas now they've done a few 30 kilometers without stopping. You know what I mean? And they're, like I said, ready to take on the marathon. So it's been cool to like sort of see everyone's progress, my own progress, Jaden's progress, Khari's progress, everybody else in the group, just by implementing sort of a stricter schedule. And if you really have a look at our schedule, it's not strict in terms of like pace and crazy distances, but it's just a case of like, if you show up, you're going to be fine. And by consistently showing up, you're going to start to see the improvements, I guess, along the way.
And how have you guys actually gone about structuring the program?
Yeah.
Who's done that? How have you managed to put that together? Because
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, from personal experience, we have our little run club.
Yeah, yes, I know, yeah.
And which Demi's obviously gone and created, and
Yeah.
it's a really nice intimate vibe. For that run club that we've got, I did the programming for everyone for Cape Town Marathon.
Okay.
And it was quite interesting to have to think that through.
Yes.
Around, okay, I need to make a program that most people can use,
Yes.
but is going to get them in shape to do
Correct,
the
correct.
marathon.
Yeah.
So I ended up splitting it into two things where it was like first time marathon and
Yes.
running to finish,
Yes.
and then
Specific goals.
specific
Yeah,
goal.
yeah.
So how did you guys manage that? Because I mean, you've got a lot of runners. You
Yeah,
know?
no.
Like it's a lot of people that
Yeah.
are joining.
I think again it was tough initially, sort of found our way along the way. But I had a coach, or was starting with a coach, one of my friends, and he had set out a plan for me. But the plan was very like pace focused because this year I'm going for a specific time goal in order to do ultras next year and stuff like that. So I needed that for myself. But when he had sent it to me, I realized there isn't a way to incorporate this fully into, like, I can't just say, okay guys, this is our 4 runs from the week verbatim from what he gave me. So it was myself, ChatGPT, a bit of his program, and then just doing a deep dive into a lot of different programs, like some that were put on Instagram, other friends that are coaches, and just speaking to people, and being like, what do you think about this? Do you think there's still a way to incorporate our socials? Do you think that we can have these long runs with this like varied paces? Because we have guys that can go 5 minutes or quicker than that, but then we also have people going 8 minutes 30 or 9 minutes a K. How do we sort of find a way to navigate this whole thing when prior to Cape Town Marathon, all our long runs at least were all together? So there was 5 minute runners and 9 minute runners all ran in the same group. We'd all stop together, do everything together, and we wanted to keep that, but I had to get to a point where I had to realize it's not possible to do that while making sure everybody gets their training in, get their goals at the end of the day. And that's when I had to speak to more of the guys that were training for the marathon and be like, are you guys okay taking up sort of a leadership role? Are you guys okay sort of leading a group, sweeping a certain group, going at this pace, and realizing that on some days it's going to go perfect, and which means you're going to get to go at the pace you need to go. But other days it's not going to go perfect. There's going to be someone in your group that maybe gets sick, somebody in your group that may be going a bit slower than what you guys originally agreed on, and then everyone else going to have to continue. But you, as the leader of this group, you're going to have to sort of, sort it out and maybe not get your run in as perfectly planned. And yeah, I got seven, eight guys to sort of be like, okay, we're keen to do this, we're keen to help. And I feel like that's sort of what made the whole thing work. And the runs in the week, it's still sort of very calm, very social, but that Saturday run then started to become dedicated to the marathon guys, or marathon guys and girls, where we'd have our 3 different pace groups, we'd get our long runs in, we'd sort out the 8 stations, whatever we need to along the way. But first 3-4 weeks, very shaky, but the next 12 weeks after that, everything worked out sort of perfectly, I'd say. And purely just because those guys were like, okay, we sort of realize how tough it is going to be to get this done, but we're willing to get it done. And yeah, I guess, like I said, that's sort of what led us to the point where we are now, where everyone has sort of gotten their training in, while also getting the social aspect in during the week, where those not training for the marathon, I can't expect them to rock up on a Monday and run 10 to 15 Ks if the whole reason the group started was inclusivity, being connected, having that community feel. So again, our Monday runs are still the social runs, Thursday runs are still the same, Wednesday runs are a bit different, but yeah, we sort of try to find a way to make it all work.
And were there people that you hadn't anticipated to kind of buy into the whole marathon prep that did, as in people that were part of the group that you kind of you didn't think that they were that into running, or that they would take their running to that level, that ended up going, I'm in for those big Saturday runs?
I think, yes, for sure, because a lot of people ended up doing their first half marathon in the training block, their first 25, their first 30, etc. in the training block. So prior to that, there was like so many people where I thought, again, there was only 15 to 20 of us that I thought were super serious about doing it. When more and more people came, I was like, I didn't 2 months ago, even a month ago, I wouldn't have said, you're going to sign up for the marathon or you're going to put in the training. But then again, I know where I was at that point last year, and if somebody looked at me or spoke to me, they'd be like, there's no way you're going to try and do the marathon or train for it. So after like the first 2 or 3 people that I was a bit shocked by, I sort of let that whole thing like go down. And I was like, no, man, this is what we want. We actually do want more first timers than experienced guys and girls. We do want more people sort of pushing themselves to limits that they didn't even see, to a point where out of the 50 of us that's doing it, only 5 of us have done a marathon before. Other 45 are all going for their first. So,
That's
you know,
incredible.
that obviously puts it into a whole new perspective, because you're like, again, initially, it was more balanced when there was 10 of us and 5 of us had done it and 5 hadn't. But, you know, when it's 50 and, you know, it's that big of a margin, you're like, okay, wait, that's 90% of people that trusted you to sort of, you know, take them through this whole training block, but more so trusted themselves to be like, okay, I actually think I can do this and I'm going to do this, basically.
Obviously, Slow and Steady started you and Jaden, right? So, and it was kind of that, what I think a lot of the best creations come from is it's from so almost like a selfish thing of,
Yeah.
I think that this thing would be really cool for me to have,
Yeah.
so I'm going to put it into the
Yes,
world.
yes.
And then you kind of find out that there's so many people that resonate with that
Yes.
message and that mission, and then you build a movement.
Yes.
The intention of it sounds like that, you know, creating a space where all places are welcome.
Yes.
But did you anticipate occupying this sort of mentor, leader, sort of coach role in people's lives, which is kind of where things have gone, because you've got 45 people running their first marathon, and you have orchestrated, or at least been very involved in orchestrating that journey. How has that shift been? You know, have you found it like natural moving into that kind of position within your community? Because I'm sure there are a ton of people in that space that are looking up to you, coming to you for advice, asking you questions. How has that been, you know, that transition into a very much like community leader role, from like going to create a space where people can hang out and run together, to guiding people towards something that most people will never do in their lives?
Yes.
How has that been for you?
I think the only word to sort of describe that is crazy because, like you said, it started in a very selfish way. Not that that's, you know, wrong or
nothing
anything.
wrong with that,
Yeah, but it was like us being like, okay, we need to be accountable. So here's something to keep us accountable. And then every run, at least last year, every run was sort of based around what I wanted to do, because, or what me and Jaden wanted to do if, you know, it was a season where you were sort of free. But if I was training for a race, I'd start making, you know, the runs longer. If I wasn't training for a race, even if somebody else was, the runs would be shorter. And then, you know, and also to put it even into perspective, last year we had one speed session the whole year because I didn't like speed. You know what I mean? Whereas this year, that whole thing has shifted because we realize, again, there's so many more people out there that are coming to us to get their training in, to get their runs in, all of that. And it's completely then shifted to a point, like you said, where I had to think properly about what the 4 runs are for the week, because now that was somebody training for their first 10K, their first half, and now obviously their first full marathon. So it had to be more structured. Like I said, we had to get more people involved. And it was funny even at moments because I'm like, I used to go to certain people for this kind of advice. I used to be the one not knowing anything. I used to think a marathon was any race, any distance, 5K marathon. Whereas now somebody tells me that, I'm like, no. Marathon's only 42.2 Ks. And yeah, it's been, I guess, you know, cool to have progressed from a point where I was the one that had all the questions to now being someone that has some of the answers to help someone that has all of the questions. You know what I mean? And yeah, like you said, be turning into sort of a coach again. I never thought I'd see myself in that space from where I was, where again I didn't like running that much, or I didn't consider myself that fit, to now somebody coming to me and being like, wait, how did you navigate your first 21, your first 30, or your first full? What did you do when it got to this moment in training? What do you think I should do? I'm here at this point. And I think a lot of people also know that, at least in the club, that I went through a massive injury last year before Cape Town. So I think this last 2 months before the marathon, this time around, anyone that has sort of had a niggle or some sort of injury, the first thing they did was come to me and be like, okay, I know you had this. How did you navigate getting through this injury? How did you navigate losing a lot of pace and some fitness, and then having to come back and be like, okay, there's a 28K this weekend. How do I actually do this? I'm not going to be in group 1 anymore. I need to be in group 3, whatever the case is. But yeah, it's been, like I said, it's been a cool journey for myself as well. Yeah, just to get to sort of fulfill that role in so many other people's lives, and to also have them trust me in a way where they're like, okay, we feel like you're knowledgeable enough, and that you can actually help us through this. So we're going to come to you and we trust you. Yeah, and I've sort of, on my end, then tried to get a lot of information, speak to a lot more other people, because, again, I'm a small fish in a big pond of people that have been doing this for years. There's clubs that have been doing it for 10 years, which is longer than I've even been running, which means their leaders have been doing it for longer than that. So I reach out to a lot of those guys as well for advice, for help, so that I'm then able to help all the slow and steady people as well.
Who's someone that you reached out to that has given you a really powerful piece of advice that stuck with you?
I think I reach out to a lot of the guys from Maslaville's a lot. So Sandrino, and then I've reached out to Mikey as well before, and then even with the front runners, like I'll speak to a lot of those guys because, again, they've been running for years and years and years. Even if I think of like someone like Nicholas Lupanga as well, he's been a front runner for a very long time, but he's been running for much longer than that. So I speak to these guys, and they sort of give me some cool things to think about in terms of my own running, but then also like with people like Mikey or Sandrino, people that are coaches in the running space already, they sort of have given me a lot of advice to be like, okay, maybe you should try it like this. Maybe something like this could benefit the group, benefit you, try and structure it in this way and see what's possible, kind of a thing.
And what has the front runner experience been like for you? How did you decide that that was something for you to get involved with? I actually saw a piece of content this morning that was really cool.
Yeah.
That you posted and also Davey posted. I think they're doing a whole campaign
Yes,
at
it's
the
the whole
moment
campaign at the moment.
about not find your moment. It's you got to refresh my mind on it here, but it's
Oh,
something about
yes.
moving your body is
Yes,
also
yes,
moving
yes,
your
yes,
mind.
yes. And
Really cool
basically the
message.
idea that it really only takes 15 minutes to sort of unlock that happiness, that joy, that moving your mind and moving your body does. And the whole tagline is everyday escape.
Everyday escape.
Yes,
That's it.
where it's like it's just getting that escape from your normal day. But I guess if you're a runner, then running is part of your normal day, anyways. But just moving for that 15 minutes. And a lot of people see running as, like movement means running, but movement also means walking. Movement means going to gym. Movement means, going to Pilates, stretching. There's so many things that mean movement that if you just do it for that 15 minutes and 9 seconds, like they say, but I guess for 20, 30 minutes, doesn't really matter. It can sort of change your whole perspective on your day, on your outlook of, perhaps that week as well. So, yeah, and to answer your original question about the whole front runner thing, um, to be honest, I hadn't known a lot about the front runner program before stepping into it. And to take you back to the end of last year, the the deadline day of the whole front run application, I had not applied yet. I didn't have the full on intention of applying because, again, if you when you look at a runner, you think of a certain type of physique, you think of a certain type of pace, certain type of achievements and things like that. And I was like, I love the front runners. I love how much they inspire me. There's so many of them that now I'm lucky to call a friend, and they had inspired me back then. But I was like, I don't think I fit this mold to be part of them because I just felt like I was very different in terms of how I looked, in terms of pace, and all of those things. And then on the deadline day, I was out for supper with my girlfriend and with friends, and it was 10 p.m. and it closed at midnight. At least that's what we had thought based off of the time zone. It may have closed at 1 a.m. And then 3 friends in the space of 5 to 10 minutes, Sandrina being one of them, messaged me saying, why haven't you applied for the front runner thing? And you don't you think you should apply? The deadline's now. And I was like, I thought about it briefly, but then I pushed it away. So you guys messaging me now maybe thinks maybe I shouldn't have pushed it away, maybe I should do it. And then I went outside the restaurant, quickly put a few clips together, did a voiceover literally in my car. And again, at that point, we thought the deadline was midnight, 2 minutes to 12, posted the video up, did the relevant hashtags, whatever, and, sort of applied. Then the next day, found out that based off of time zones and things like that, we still had the morning. So then I quickly just deleted that video, reworked it, and then, sort of just posted it. But it wasn't like anything heavy edited or heavy thought about. Because again, at this point, I'm thinking like, again, I love these guys, they motivate me so much, but I don't think that I fit in here necessarily. And then about 3 weeks later, Davey follows me, and I think Luke followed me, and then I was like, wait, this is weird. What's going on here? But I didn't message them. I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Maybe they're following all the applicants to see their sort of, activity. And then I got an email saying, are you free to meet in like 15 minutes? And I was just so confused by the whole thing that even when they said meeting in my, like, even though I show them it says meeting, I thought it was an interview, as in, ugh, they're interviewing everybody again because why are they going to choose me? I had watched that last deadline day. I went into the hashtag and I had watched so many videos. And I, for myself, had selected people that I was like, okay, this is all the people that will get chosen ahead of me. So, sort of put this to bed. And then, obviously, I responded to the email saying, yes, I'm free immediately. We have the meeting later that day. And yeah, even in the meeting, Dave is like, basically sort of telling me you've already made it. As long as you're fine with this and this and this, that will be in the contract, get back to us. And I leave that meeting and I'm like, I don't think this is still not making sense. Like, again, how am I in this meeting? How am I in the conversation, kind of a thing? And then obviously I have a think about it, but very briefly. I speak to Taylor, my girlfriend, and one or two other friends about it. And they're like, it's a no-brainer. Why would you even think about the maybe? And then sent them an email, said, yes, 100% in, signed the contract and everything. And then I've seen how much being part of this community has sort of changed my whole life, changed slow and steady, and basically just changed everything. Because even myself as a runner, I used to run in one pair of shoes, run that shoe dead, and then sort of find money and then get a new shoe and, do that same thing like once or twice a year max. So now being afforded the opportunity, which again I'm extremely grateful for, and I'll continue to be grateful for, to be able to test out gear, to be able to have enough gear to do it, it's crazy. Even apparel wise, like there was literally this period in that full first year of us running where I had about sort of 4 to 5 running t-shirts, 3 shorts, and by the Saturday I'd make sure those are washed, because if I don't have them washed, how am I going to do my runs the next week? To now being in a space where, I have options in terms of gear. I can give my friends gear, I've given my family, because it's like, I'm in this space and I want to make sure you guys also benefit from it in that way. So that's why I say it's been sort of life-changing, because now I get to be more confident about being out there. Now I get to feel like, whoa, this is a space I didn't think I belonged in. Yet everybody, the minute I got into that space, made me feel like I belonged there way before I even got there. Made me feel welcome. Davey has done an amazing job with the team, continues to do an amazing job. And again, from the get-go, from that meeting that we had, I remember there were so many moments in there where I kept on saying, like, this is crazy. And like, what made you guys do this? And you would laugh at it and be like, no, man, like, we enjoy your story. We feel like you've, really motivated and etc. And again, being in the front runner community, seeing all the other people's stories and realizing I had maybe seen 3 or 4 front runners, at least South African runners, before the whole application phase, and thought that was it, right? Whereas there was so many more, and it's so diverse in terms of race winners, all the way down to people that only did their first 10 kilometer this year, you know what I mean? So it's extremely diverse, and then seeing how all those different people motivate people differently, live their lives in a different way, yet still get their fitness in, still find ways to motivate themselves, find ways to create a community, build communities, and further the communities that they're already in. It's been inspiring because I don't know that if I wasn't in this front runner space, if I would have seen all those people's stories, if I would have met all those people and been able to be inspired by them and take from them and learn from them and see how I can use that to sort of change my mentality. Because I think even with the whole slow and steady thing, it sort of got to a point where I'd only find motivation if somebody had a similar story to me or similar journey to me of started from not running to running a marathon in a year. That's the stuff I sort of found motivating. And then again, I come to the front runner community and you speak to a race winner, and the only way you know he's a race winner is because it came up from somebody else or it randomly happened to come up because we spoke about that race, not because that's all they speak about, you know? And then to be like, wait, you dedicate yourself in this way, even though you've already reached the peak, you're still pushing on as if that was yesterday and, you know, today's a new day, tomorrow's a new day. How can I get better? How can I get fitter and things like that? Yeah, and I think obviously last month I had the privilege of going to Tokyo, and as a result, met 40 other front runners from around the world, and then to see their stories, and again, how even more diverse the community is when you go to the global aspect. It's like, wait, I don't think I've fitted into anything else like this before. Whereas again, my mindset was, I don't fit, I don't belong. Whereas now it's like, this is the place where I feel like I fit the most. This is the place where I feel like I belong the most. So yeah, it's been really inspiring. And again, I felt really, really welcome in the whole front runner community.
And the kind of way that you spoke to this idea of what a runner looks like or what
Yeah.
times a runner
Yes,
runs,
yes.
was that something that you had internalized yourself,
Yeah.
or was it something that you just thought that's how the world lenses running,
Yeah.
and I'm going to like project this
Yeah.
onto what I'm thinking the front runner thing is about?
Yeah.
As in, was that actually like your belief, or did you just think that's how they viewed runners?
Okay. I think it was more my belief because again, when I started my running journey, that was what I cared about. I cared about running alone, being fast, getting fitter, getting stronger, and just about times, you know, and looking a certain way, losing certain amount of weight, you know, having the right body, whatever the case is. And that was my view. And then sort of when I came back and then I looked different, a lot of other people still look the same. A lot of other people that you saw on socials in terms of running and things like that still had that same mold of how I had looked 2 to 3 years before that. So then in my head, I'm thinking, okay, that is what it's still about. People are still thinking that's what a runner is, and that's the only type of runner that sort of gets the exposure. Because again, that's what you see on the socials. And then, but again, that was more like my own belief getting into it and also what I was seeing. Whereas the minute I stepped into it, it was very much like, no, you're actually not that focused. Yes, there is naturally going to be people that look like natural runners in the front runner community because that's what it's about. And also, that's perhaps the people stepping forward to be part of it as well. So you can't then fault them for being in it, nor can you fault the selectors for selecting them. But then again, being in it, you realize, wait, there was no selection criteria or anything like that. And more so, again, everybody makes it feel, or makes me feel that welcome, and everyone else feel that welcome, that you don't think, oh, pace is the thing that you need to be worried about, or oh, you look this way, so we're not going to be with you. It's quite the opposite. It's like, let's welcome everybody as much as we can, kind of a thing. And yeah, I think, again, being in it has shown me what possibilities or what more possibilities there is out there. Because it's like, I didn't think it was possible, yet it is. So perhaps this now makes other people realize, wait, it is actually possible now.
And that's super powerful. In terms of like your origin story with running being centered a lot around hitting certain
Yeah.
pace markers, losing some weight,
Yeah.
etc. What what can you speak to in terms of the benefits you've taken from running that transcend that
Yeah.
are not to do with numbers and
Yeah.
the physical, but rather perhaps mental,
Yeah.
emotional, even spiritual? Like,
Yeah.
what are some non-physical kinds of benefits that you've taken from running
Yeah.
in your journey?
I think the main thing for me is sort of grit, and I guess the whole idea of failure, because even when I started university, right, I'd been fine with academics in school. Then I failed my first test in university, and I was like, I had this massive fear of failure. And anytime I failed anything, it would be like this big thing. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I would just be in this sort of very negative space where I'm like, okay, you failed at this thing, move on to something else, or you did this wrong, this maybe isn't for you, kind of a thing. And then running has shifted that completely for me, because I've realized along the way that the only way I get to the point where I am now, the only way I get to do the things that I do now, is because I have failed sort of along the way, whether it's failing in a run, by not doing what I maybe had intended to do, or along the way maybe not, I guess, like I said, showing up, and thinking because I didn't show up to one run that it's done. And now realizing again, those were all pivotal steps to lead me to the point where I am now, where now me showing up for every single run that I can isn't like, okay, I'm only going to show up when I feel like I can eat this pace, or I can do this, or I can lead in this way. It's more, I know that I need to show up for myself, so that I know that regardless of what's going on around me, I'll always be able to show up. But more so showing other people that, if you show up consistently, crazy things are possible. And if you show up consistently, you will start to hit those goals. You will start to feel more confident. You will start to prosper in ways that you didn't even think was possible. So yeah, I think showing up, and the whole idea of losing that fear of failure and realizing that it's just all part of the process. And I guess with all of those things, consistency as well, it's like realizing the power of consistency, and not again necessarily in pace and in losing weight or anything like that, but just consistently showing up and realizing the benefits of that in the community and in the running space and things like that.
That's amazing. I think the one that resonated most with me was the confidence thing, because I feel like what exercise or anything that you do consistently does is it improves the reputation you have with yourself,
Yeah.
because you make a micro promise,
Yes.
and you keep the promise, and
Yeah.
you're like, cool, like I've got my own back.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I can keep my word on things.
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
that builds confidence, I
Yes.
think, which is super cool.
Yeah.
For somebody looking to get into running, or to just start something new, really,
Yeah.
and take that leap, what's one piece of advice you'd give them?
I think it literally is just realizing that showing up is the most important thing, and more so putting yourself out there and just forcing yourself to start, because again, starting doesn't mean that you need to start in a crazy way. It just means going to the thing. It means getting out. It means putting on the shoes, starting your watch, going to the gym, whatever the case, whatever it takes to start, just do that. And if you do that enough times, you'd realize, oh, that's not that bad. I can do this again. I can do this again, to a point where it's, you get the ball rolling, and then you realize, wait, this is now a consistent habit, or it's not that tough to start anymore. Now you can focus on, okay, what goal do I have? What pace do I need? What distance do I want to do? What race do I want to do? What more can I do? What other sport do I want to try? Because now you've gotten so used to just showing up, and also just being able to start something every day. And I think I still incorporate that in everything I do today, is that every morning I remind myself that no matter what happened yesterday or what's happening tomorrow, I need to start today. I need to get out of bed. I need to go out and actually do whatever I want to do, because that's the only way I'm going to get things done. It's the only way I'm going to, again, build that confidence for myself, where I'm like, okay, you said you're going to do this, do it. And then that consistent repetition just builds into something that, again, changes your life in some way.
I love that. Jade, thank you so much. Where can people find you, or if they want to join in on a run, where where you at?
I think still, as always, Instagram, but what you guys will notice is not every single run is posted on Instagram. So again, just pop us a message on the Slow and Steady Instagram page, pop myself a message on Instagram, and yeah, we will add you to the WhatsApp group where every single thing is posted. You'll never be left out if you're on the group. And yeah, basically just join, test it out, and you'll be surprised basically of what you're capable of. And yeah, I know sometimes it feels like you'll see a lot of our runs, at least these days, are more marathon focused because again, Cape Town Marathon's around the corner. But you'll start to realize every single week there is something for everybody, whether that's somebody that's starting running out for the first time or somebody very deep into the marathon training. There's a run that will fit you. I will be there to walk with you if you need to, and there's so many other leaders that will do the same thing. So yeah, just check us out, and I'm sure you'll be pleasantly surprised.
What's the handle?
For Slow and Steady, it's Slow and Steady CPT, and then mine is Jaide, 4 J's, and then the rest of it. So yeah, just message either myself or straight to Slow and Steady, and yeah, we'll get you guys added.
Awesome. Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it, and we will catch you in the next episode. Cheers.
Sweet.
Jude. We should put that at the end. Shot. Thank you.
Shot, my brother. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for listening to the show, guys. We love answering specific questions. So if there's anything you want to know, leave a comment or reach out to us directly at HorizonZA on Instagram or email us at movement@horizongym.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Seb Prentice, and this is Beyond Physical.